everybody. So we're sitting here on this lovely afternoon talking to the cast of Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. This is a project that I love. I've been working on this, I think, for close to a decade. It took me a while to get it made. I have really interesting stories and relationships with everybody in this cast, but I didn't really know how to begin this session, so I thought I would throw it to Niecy Nash, who's probably has a talk show, and let her ask the first question, or let any of you ask me questions, because sometimes, when we're making things, it's always done in a very bizarrely, hermetically sealed situation. So I just thought, to have fun, we would start with, is there anything you want to know about this project that you don't know?
Well, I definitely want to raise my hand on that one, and I want to throw it to you. First of all, I'm happy to see all of you. Second of all, beautiful performances. But what I wanted to ask you, Ryan, because I feel like you're a master when it comes to casting. You cast things in such a way where once the viewer watches it, you can't imagine anyone else doing that role. So I want to know, what was it that made you say these actors are perfect for these parts? And then this follow-up question is, what is your favorite scene of each person here?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a great way to start. It's very good.
We're gonna dive in. Wow.
I have a really interesting relationship with casting, which is I always try in my projects to do something tried and true and something new. So when we started casting it, it was a process where I wanted to sort of see the world for the character of Jeffrey Dahmer. And I believe we did several months of casting, and I think we must have read 100 guys. And there were many great contenders, and I just kept thinking, if only Evan would do this. And obviously I've known Evan since he was 17. He auditioned for me for American Horror Story. I said this before, but I jokingly cast him because he looked like Jessica Lange. And then he played her son, and then he showed up on the first day and did something so amazing that we went back and rewrote the season for him and his talent. So I called Evan up and said, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this, but I'm gonna send you these scripts, and I don't even know if this is something that you would entertain. I think it's in the tradition of sort of Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. It's that kind of role. Yeah. But it takes a huge commitment, and it's not for everyone's makeup or soul. Will you read them? Just as a favor to me, no harm, no foul. And Evan read them and said,
I said, it's brilliantly written. It's going to be the hardest role. I can't imagine a harder role to do, and just an incredible challenge. I really struggled with whether to dive into it or not.
Yeah.
But you said watch the Dateline interview with Stone Phillips.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I was just really transfixed by how he spoke about what he did, and confused by it, and wanted to dive into the psychology of that. And ultimately, I said yes, but it was really a struggle on whether I should do that or not.
Yeah, I think it was difficult for you to say yes, but once you did say yes, you really, really committed to it in an astonishing way.
But it was hard for you.
God.
I mean, I could see that. I think we could see that it was definitely a hard project to take on and be in that person's mind all that time.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it was very hard.
I was worried, as your, stepmother and as an older actress, to see somebody that was clearly in pain,
But I felt like everybody was so protective, all of you guys, when we were working together. I felt very comfortable and safe, and I was off the deep end, dove into it, but I really, I felt taken care of and safe around all of you guys, so that was very helpful.
Good. That's nice to hear.
But your commitment to this role was so incredibly impressive and powerful and truly mesmerizing. I mean, honestly.
Thank you.
And I have worked with De Niro and Brando and Pacino, and you're right up there.
Should we end it
thank
now?
you.
I mean, how do you top that? That's true. I mean, I would say that about Evan, so
And I told him that.
preternaturally talented.
Yeah.
I think the second phone call I made, and I think Evan was still thinking about it. I did 2 in a row. and both of these parts were written for these actors. So I wrote with Ian Brennan, the co-creator of our show, the role of Glinda for Niecy. And I have worked with Niecy Nash for 25 years ago. She did my very first show, a show called Popular, kind of a culty thing. She played a lobster.
In the bathroom.
In a bathroom. And
In a dream sequence.
yeah.
I love you.
And she was just, but I remember watching her. I was on set when she did that so many years ago. And Niecy has always been, not anymore, but now sort of thought of as this sort of comedic, brilliant, ebullient personality. And I always said, there's something dramatic and amazing in there. So when we were writing this role of Glinda, I called Niecy and I said, I have this part for you. And because we have such a long history, she said, well, I don't need to read it, I'll just do it. I said, no, I really think you should read it. It's very difficult. And that's how that started. And then I think I sent you the scripts and you said, wow, this is challenging, but I want to be challenged, much like Evan said, I want to be challenged. And you said yes.
I said yes, but then I've always said you will always have me at hello. And I mean that because I trust you. I trust your passion. And I don't know, honestly, I have no idea what is going on in that head of yours, but when we get to see the finished product of your thoughts, you find yourself saying, this man is a creative genius. How did you even think of that? How did you come up with that? The layers, the complexity, it's just, I mean, and that's the bottom line. Every time you call me.
Well, I'll keep that in mind. I'll
Yes.
keep calling you. I was also really moved in the process, and I'll get to this in a little bit, but, once people started watching it and seeing it, you were so moved by people's reaction to Glinda Cleveland that, for us in the writer's room represented so many things, but really her community, justice finally in a weird way. We had many emotional phone calls about that. Can you talk about that?
Oh, you mean where I called you with a scarf on my head, looking like I was auditioning for 12 Years a Slave, crying and carrying on because I was so emotional. And I didn't want to wait to doll up to call him. I'm calling you right now. And I need to look you in your eyes and tell you not only what a gift this part was for me, but to be... Ryan, I don't know why you always make me cry, but to be the face and the voice of so many Black women who go unheard and unseen. And now that I'm the newest member of the community, the homophobia that was rooted in all of this, and I don't have Kleenex, and if I cry my fake eyelashes off, you getting it, and I mean it.
We have a
Can I
Kleenex.
have one? Please? Thank
Molly
you.
has one.
But I...
So you felt it was a really heavy weight.
Yeah, but such a responsibility.
Right.
And my tears often come when I wonder where Glinda's spirit is right now. And if she knows that the world has shown up and taken note of what, she was trying to get people to... how she was trying to be believed in it all.
And you said movingly, I think, that every one of us in the world has been Glinda Cleveland at one point or another, which I thought was...
If you haven't yet, you will be at a point where you're telling someone something and you are not believed, or you are silenced, or you are pushed down or pushed back. I often tell my children, you speak your truth and you keep speaking it over and over, even if your voice shakes. You keep doing it because it's necessary to show up and have that kind of agency in the world, that your voice matters.
I think that's great. Also, I think in that period where I was talking to Evan and Niecy, very quickly, with this role of Lionel Dahmer was written for Richard Jenkins, who I've had the honor of directing and working with Julia Roberts. And there was a lot of my father in Lionel, interestingly enough, the same age. And so we wrote it for you, and I sent it. I called you first, and I said, I have good news and I have bad news. I want you to read this. It's very difficult. And I honestly thought you would say this is too heavy, but much to my joy and surprise, you called back a couple of days later and said, you know what? Like Evan, like Nisi, you said this is scary to me, but I want to do it. So what was it about Lionel that made you say yes?
Simply, he's the most three-dimensional character that I've read in a long time. This is a true human being that is not just one thing. He's a father filled with everything fathers are filled with: terror, love, hate, anger, bitterness. And it's just, I thought it was seamless. And the question for me was, if Jeffrey Dahmer is your son, do you stop loving him?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Right.
And when I read that script, that's okay. And I started thinking of my children.
Yeah, me too.
And what would that be like for this man? And then, so I read his book, A Father's Story, and it's basically a cautionary tale about, I didn't see these things. I hope other parents will. I missed this. I mean, for a man to say that, you know, and I just, the simple fact is, it was the most human character I have read in a long time.
Can I just say that when you had the scene in the police department, when you were there alone, when you were about to break emotionally, but then you pulled it back, but then you let it go a little, then you pulled it back, I felt like without saying a word, it was an entire monologue. We knew everything you were feeling, the fear, the shame, the acknowledgement of what he did. And wait a minute, did I really have a part? Okay, but wait, because now I feel guilty. All in that one scene. I said, baby, nah, you did something when you did that. You did something when you did that.
He's masterful.
Isn't
that.
he?
Yes, he
Well, that's very
is.
sweet.
I mean, that was what was so exciting for me, was to work with Jenkins. I mean, pretty much all of our scenes, I think,
Yeah.
are together. Couple with you. But to me, the actor that I think of is Gandolfini. Like he was able to, there's just a few actors who I think are able to just express so much, like you say, just without saying anything, and you can see all the different emotions, the shame, the anger, the confusion, all of that. And yeah, they seem like a real couple.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when I saw our stuff together,
Yeah.
we looked like we were in love.
Well, this is the first time we've all been together. I mean, you guys have had some scenes and you dipped in, but really
Yeah.
this is the first time since we made it where we've been together.
Yeah.
You know, when we came to casting the other roles in the show, one of the things that was important to me was like, I want to see somebody do it. I want to be exposed to new people, because, you know, I do have a troupe of actors that's like, I say it's like Orson Welles in the Mercury Theater, but you know, I was with these two roles, I wanted to sort of expand my world, and I will tell you, both of you auditioned, and I remember the second I got 30 seconds into both of your auditions, I hit and said, signed. I don't even think I watched the entire thing when I made the call, and I had been such fans. I was such fans of both Penelope and Molly, but, and I had been fans of yours for different reasons. You know, you both had impacts in my life, and I grew up watching your work, and we're the same age, but I mean, when I started off in the business, I just loved your work, and I was so thrilled to bring you in and have you be a part of the family, and that's how you were cast.
I always wanted to get on the Ryan Murphy train.
Yeah.
Really?
Ditto.
Wow. Well, now you're on the train.
Yeah.
I'm not getting off.
Every time I would say to my agent or manager, I was like, "What's Ryan Murphy doing? When can I get
See, I
in
never
with
hear
him?"
any of this ever.
That's
No.
too bad. Yeah.
I don't.
But yeah, it was. So when I heard about this one, I was like, yes.
And you know, to talk about your favorite scenes, now we'll go through in that, and I'll tell you the moment where I remember seeing it, at least for Molly and Penelope, because I had existing relationships with the other actors. I would say for me, my favorite Penelope and Miller scene was the scene with young Jeffrey, where you're leaving him in the house and you talk about Joyce's UFOs. and how you were fleeing a marriage, fleeing an identity. I love that scene. I also love the scene that very much reminded me of, my mother's generation, of you in the counselor's office talking about that you actually had something still to give. I thought, could you talk about those two incredible moments? Because they were incredible. And did they test you as an actor? Was it easy for you?
There was a lot going on in that scene because I'm leaving with his younger brother and my younger son, and I think there's so much that my character is feeling betrayed by her husband, jealous of their relationship. I'm feeling abandoned, but I'm abandoning. And there's so much anger and hurt and fear, and there's so many things going on, and sort of the irony to it is I'm saying, you never, let me go to the garage where you were cutting up those animals.
Right.
And I'm saying this to him, and he's looking at me thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't think you'd want to. But at the same time, I wanted him to ask me.
Right.
And yet, of course, I'm disgusted by it. But it's just, I wanted to belong. I never felt like I belonged. I never felt my husband got me. I believe in these UFOs. We never connected. We never had that connection.
It was pure raw pain, that scene.
Raw pain. And
How many
obviously-
takes did you do of that? Do you remember?
Do you remember how many?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
7.
7. Let's go to 7.
Well, I
Can
thought
I
it.
just say I love the scene with you when you're telling the person that they don't have AIDS,
Yes, I love that too.
and I was really moved by that because we went that was my generation. Like I found out on the set of Breakfast Club about Rock Hudson, and then many of my friends died, and so that really moved me. And the idea that Joyce was trying so hard to put something back in,
Right. And she was seeing
humanity.
it was sort of a chance to connect with a young boy that wasn't my son, and it was just that was true. I mean, just
Yeah, I
all
found
the
that
writing
moving.
in this show is just so layered with so much, and just even so little is so much.
Yeah.
And the directors and this is what you do so brilliantly, and why you were saying, Nisi, about just this genius behind your creativity is it's you, and you're sort of the I don't know, the kingpin of it all, but who you surround yourself by, all the creativity, from the lighting to the set design to the costume to the hair and makeup, everything is so well thought out. And that's what creates into the actors, and so we're also supported
Right.
by these in the writing, and so when we are able to do what we do, it's able to come out.
Thank you.
So that's
It's like curating a dinner party, when you're putting together something like this, where you have your special guests that you've sat by, and then you add new people. But also the thing about this show that was interesting to me was it was way outside my comfort range. Like I wanted to make this for 10 years. It took a long time to get it made. And finally, when I got the green light, I thought, I want to do this differently. I would like to go out to people that I've loved, and I want to have new people like our amazing cinematographer, Jason McCormick. And I was so interested in the directors that we curated coming in, all of whose work meant something to me. But it was an opportunity for me to let go, because I didn't direct any of these episodes, and usually I do, but also to be influenced by other people's ideas and their passion for the material, which I think you can tell. Like everybody who was involved in this was obsessed with it and loved it and knew it was really hard, and everybody wanted to do it because it was hard. Yeah. And speaking of which, I think my favorite Molly scene, it was a tiny moment in the show, but it was the moment that I loved. It's a scene between the two mothers and Lionel outside the courtroom, where Richard's character becomes very combative and you were pulling him back. And the reason I love that is because I have watched almost everything that you've done for decades, and I've never seen you do something that volcanic before. And I was like, look at what she can do. This is amazing.
I love that.
Like, you must have known when you were shooting that scene, like, let me roll up my sleeves and show
I
what I
felt
can
like
do.
the first time we did it and I used my big voice in that moment, both of you
Yeah.
were like, it
No,
was
that
a little bit of a shock. And it's in there, and it's true, I don't have an opportunity to do that. My kids know that voice, but
Yeah, I
other
hadn't seen
people
that side
haven't
of you
seen
either.
that.
And when I watched it, I thought, wow, Molly. I mean, it was. You're right.
I also really like the fact that people have seen Dahmer, who have seen me for years and didn't know that it was me at
Like
first.
your own child, apparently.
Yeah, like my
Right?
own child. Yeah, my 13-year-old son he found out at school that I was in Dahmer.
Right.
And came back he's like, you're not in Dahmer, are you? And, yes, I am. That's me.
They're all talking about it.
Yeah,
Still.
yeah.
I think my favorite Richard scene, I have many of them. I think my favorite Richard scene that was the most complicated, and I think you would agree as an actor and a father, was when part of the people have written about this show. This show is about a lot of things, but it really is about the power of white privilege, how this person got away with this 10 times and counting because of how he looked, who he was in society. It's about homophobia. It's about racism. It's about all of these things. And what I loved about the scene that I'll talk about is in 10 episodes, we're always pushing around the focus. Like, whose fault is this? It's systemic racism. It's homophobia. But I love the scene where Richard, after Jeffrey is convicted, goes to you and says, it's my fault. I'm owning it after not owning it for many, many years. And I thought that was so painful and raw what you did.
And that scene terrified me.
Did it?
Yeah. Of all of the scenes that reading this, I thought, no, where is this going to go? What is it? But it's really nice to shoot episodic because you shoot in sequence. And even though you jump back and forth, by the time we got to that, it was, and may I say, the guy is freaking brilliant in this. He's just brilliant. But him standing there looking at me, that's what made it happen.
Yeah.
Nothing else, nothing. I didn't, think about it, prepare, and that. Just, I looked at him and I knew that it was going to be okay. And I knew that when it was over, Molly was going to be there. It was, that's how it felt, the whole thing. He felt like my son.
Yeah.
He felt like my son, and that's what I wanted when I started. I didn't know if we'd ever get there, but from the beginning, he's just an extraordinary actor. Can I ask you a question?
You can.
When did it occur to you that you weren't just playing this part, that you were representing a gajillion people?
You trying to make me cry too?
No, it's interesting. As an actor, when does that, was it in the middle of it when you read it, after you finished it? What?
I think it was after I started the filming of it. And
That's
because
a burden to carry.
Because then after you go home, and you're in the car, you're thinking about your choices, you're thinking about, and then I started to say, oh, this is so and so. Oh, this is the girl who told me. That was the lady who said the woman in the news that day time. And then it starts to pile on, and it just starts to get bigger and bigger, and you're like, baby, you standing in a lot of people's stilettos when in this, who have been, for a multitude of reasons. You know what I mean? Things happen in a family and you try to tell and you're not believing. It could be anything. But it started after I first started filming. And then I was like, oh, this woman is a everyman almost.
That's a burden.
Yeah.
My favorite scene, speaking of burdens, for Evan and for Niecy was the same scene. I don't know why. I was always obsessed with it. I kind of obviously was the architect of everything, but I didn't come to set a lot because I wanted people to interpret the material. I did come to set and rehearse 2 sequences, which is the opening of episode 1, when you first understand what Jeffrey is up to, and then the scene between Evan and Niecy, which is the sandwich scene. And I never understood why that was my favorite scene, but it felt Shakespearean when we were writing it, and of course, Jeffrey Dahmer apparently did this to many people in the complex, giving them the gift of sandwiches. But I was very interested in it, and I showed up for the rehearsal, and the reason I loved it is because I think Evan and Niecy were both like, okay, let's go. Like from first rehearsal, they had that. Not a lot changed, and to me, it was seeing like two actors at the top of their game, and it was almost like a tension that had been building that you guys got to express, and it was so complicated. And we made little changes, but not a lot. That was my favorite scene for both of you, I think. But maybe it was more about the experience of having such love for you as actors, and finally you get this scene. Do you remember much about that day, or no?
No.
You don't?
I remember the scene was complicated and it had a lot of layers.
Yeah.
And, I was trying to figure out what he was doing in that scene.
Right.
Why would he do that? What's the end game? Does he? I mean, he obviously wants her to take back the complaint, but at the same time, I think he realizes she's not going to do that. So he wants to punish her with this. So he's bringing that to her to do that. So it was complicated, and you know, he's found out he's evicted, and it's rock bottom essentially. So at this point, I think he's given up on everything and just wants to lash out at Niecy's character for taking away his well, whatever you want to call it, what he was doing.
Right.
So
And it's the first time in the show, I think, where Glinda is like, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm just not doing it. And I loved what you did in that scene, and we talked about, you loved that scene as well.
Yeah, I did not. I thought it was something that she wasn't prepared for. She wasn't at home saying, okay, I know he's coming at 3 o'clock. But when you knock on that door and you came in there, it's like, okay. And then I think she finally was like, I have had it. So I'm just gonna ask you everything. You know what I mean? And it was finally her chance to be like, well, what's really going on? But at the same time, scared to death, but did not want to show it. And I felt like everything was bubbling up to the surface until you shut that door. Once he left,
Her struggle, her
it was just
pain,
like,
yeah.
ooh, Lord. Like I was trying to, you know, put that face on and make you think I'm not afraid and, you know, get on you. But inside, I feel like she was very vulnerable in that moment, coming face to face with you, because if nobody knew, Glinda knew that, you know, it wasn't well.
Can I also say that based on the strength of your acting and the set and camera and everything, I felt like I could smell that room, and I was never there.
We talked a lot about that in the lighting of those scenes. Like, what is the particulate in the air? What is the humidity? Like in the color field, like, you know, with everything that I do, I kind of like to show up at the beginning and say, this is what it is, right? So when we're researching Dahmer, I just saw one photograph, a police photograph of the empty hallway in that apartment that was very yellow, and it was because of the light bulb had burned out. And I never saw another photograph of that. And I'm like, that's the palette, that's what we're doing.
That's what I
and
heard
that's
when I got
we
there
were
was
very
urine yellow.
It was urinal cake yellow, yeah. But I think that, you know, I think everybody on this show, from the DP to the costumer to the, you know, every production designer, everybody, we just had a unified vision. The interesting thing to me about this show too is, you know, speaking of my relationship with Evan, is I've known Evan for a long time. And I find Evan to be, in real life, an absolute delight. He's funny, we joke, he has Thanksgiving, my kids are sitting on his knee, we've laughed. And the interesting thing about him as an actor is when he's working, he's so dedicated. I wouldn't call it method acting because it almost, I don't even know how to describe it, but that person goes away. Niecy had a moment the other night when we started to do promotion for the show, because we haven't. We let people discover it. And she said, I feel like I never really met Evan before.
Absolutely not. And people would ask me, what is he like? I'm like, I don't know. Because we did not connect at all during the filming. And at first I felt some kind of way because I felt like, well, who doesn't like me? I'm a very likable lady, you know? And then I realized, I'm like, oh, this is his process. I'm so sorry. And and I was like,
Sure.
let me allow him, because I'm like, good morning. And he's very stoic. And I'm like, I said, good morning, Evan. Now what's going on? How was your weekend? And he's just like, lady, get from over here. Because it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? I can't, love you or warm to you and still go in this scene and do what I need to do. I got to stay over here. So I met him the other night and I'm like, oh, he's so nice. He's so charming. But yeah,
I told you.
Yeah, you did.
But
yeah.
how did you, just very quickly if you could you talk about how you researched, specifically I think the physicality of Dahmer, because for you as an actor, I know sometimes that you have to start with the outside before you go inside. Yeah. So you watched the Stone Phillips interview that I pointed you in that direction, but how did you capture him? What did you do?
I did a lot. I guess I watched as much as I could. I watched all the footage I could find, the interviews, courtroom, and I sort of studied how he moved, and he had a very straight back. He didn't move his arms when he walked, so.
And you wore lead weights around your hands at times, correct?
I did. In the beginning, it was important for me to get kind of how that felt. As we were shooting, I let that go, but I did that, and in the beginning, I wore wardrobes, shoes, and jeans and glasses, and I had a cigarette in my hand at all times, just trying to get all of these externals second nature, so I wasn't thinking about it when we were shooting. And
the accent too.
Yeah.
The voice, yeah, he has such a distinct voice and that dialect. So I worked with dialect coaches and then created this 45-minute audio composite that I listened to every day to stay in the accent, but also to really get into the mindset for the day and all the scenes we were shooting, and have his sort of tried to attempt to understand what he was thinking and going through. So I just tried to stay in it because it was too hard to go in and out of it.
That makes me want to have a question for you, Evan. We understand you're explaining how you went in. What was your process to come out? Like how did you take it off, and how long did it take?
That's the question America wants to know for sure.
Yeah.
Like I get that a lot.
I guess, I don't know. I think to me it was just really important to do 120% the entire way through. I know, Richard, you were nervous about me burning out, but I really wanted to do that. I wanted to see what happened with that, how that felt. It felt like the material deserved it. And so I pushed myself, and then I just thought, well, once this is done, I can relax. I can take a break. I can decompress. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to take some time off and decompress. I haven't worked since we shot this, so I tried to really shake it all off. Went back home to St. Louis a lot, saw my family a lot, friends. Just tried to decompress. Watch Step Brothers. Just change up the psyche. It's so good. Yeah, just really, I put in so much negativity and darkness to portray the character that I just thought, okay, once this is done, all that goes away, and I have to get back into the light and start filling myself back up with comedies and romance and all sorts of things like that.
You can be my friend now.
Yeah, and I love you. I really love you. I'm such a huge fan of yours, and it was really a pleasure to work with you. You were so warm to me, and I said it the other night, but you told me one day I was really struggling, and your grandmother has this saying, and I'll let you say it because I don't want to.
He was struggling one day, and I said, my grandmama always says, "You trying to make me cry too?"
That's what we're here for, Nisi, is to make you cry.
Okay.
We love you.
Well, I love you too, but
But it's a great phrase.
But I want to know what Grandma said.
What did she say?
Mom, my grandmother used to always say, she said two things, but the one thing I told Evan was she always said, hang tough till you get enough. And when you get enough, still hang tough. You know, and she used to say, pull up and push through and never look like what you're going through. But the reason why it makes me a little bit emotional is because that's my grandmother from your hometown, St. Louis, who passed recently. And the other night, I just had tears in my eyes thinking about her after we did our panel. But yes, thank you for even reminding me of her words, because they still serve me too. So thank you.
So I want to end with just talking about the idea of, and we've all been there, like you make something and you love it, and then really once you release it, it's no longer yours. Like it's really not. It's there to be interpreted, it's there to be viewed, it's there to be loved, it's there to be hated. And I've had several things in my career that have worked really well, but I can honestly say that when we were making this piece, like Evan, I remember when we finished it saying, well, I really did give my all. Like I gave it 120%. I left it all on the dance floor. I spent months on every episode, the editing, the cuts. It meant a lot to me. And I really had no expectation for the first time in my career, because usually I'm like, is it a hit or is it a bomb? Is it what? So I didn't know. And to be honest, I didn't really care. I loved the process of making it. And for me, the first time that's ever happened to me. So lo and behold, you turn around and now this is a show that is near or approaching 1 billion hours streamed, which makes it one of the most successful television shows in the history of the medium. And I'm asked all the time, why do you think it has happened? And I really don't know. I really, I have theories. I think about it a lot. But I really don't understand it. And I just wondered if any of you have theories. I have two theories about success of this show, is that I think it came out in a time where people are looking to put their anxieties into something or express anxiety, or maybe to watch something that's more anxious than the world they're experiencing, and I think there's that. I also think that since COVID, people are very interested in examining pieces that talk about mental health, and all of your characters, every one of you have those scenes where you either are at rock bottom and you ask for help, or you say, I'm not doing very well, even Dahmer. And I'm wondering if that touched a nerve with people, but what are some of your theories on why Dahmer has become what it's become in the culture?
I think that the focus, it was the first, I know that there were a lot of Dahmer projects, and I remember hearing about Dahmer. I was living overseas at the time, and it made like foreign paper, like it was a really big story. But everything that I ever saw on Dahmer did not focus on the victims as much.
Right.
And their stories. And I feel like that really, people were really interested, and that was what I found really interesting, was that it focused so much on the victims, and that everybody is a human being in the story. I mean, even, sorry, Dahmer, I know, to me, he was really mentally ill, and to me, one of the great tragedies is that they weren't able to examine his brain after.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Because I feel like it would have been it would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But that's sort of my take of why people have connected with it.
I think you said that correctly. I think it's hit a nerve with people. I think there is that the mental component of people wanting to understand mental illness, what's going on in our world, what goes on with these people, what causes it. And there's so many, because there's so much blame between the parents. Is it the parents? And really, they're the victims that have faces, they have names, they have families. Parents are the victims too, and and we don't know. We're trying to figure it out. Like, what did we do wrong? What did we do wrong? And there's so much that goes on, and so many, even parents who have children, whether they're drug addicted, whether they're whatever it is. So there's so much, I think, that everyone's trying to figure out. And it has made people, honestly, even, of course, there's the people that, you know, the controversy and all that, but there's people that are looking into it. I have people that have come up to me that say, you know, they've been studying it and looking into it, or people that look into forensic psychology and really studying the minds of serial killers. And because I think people are scared. And I think people are scared of what's happening and what can we do. So if something positive can come out of this, if people can really start paying attention, you know, to our families, our children, our friends, our communities, and listening.
To women.
Yeah, to women and to listening.
Well, to your point, I mean, you know, I've said this in the writer's room, but like I wasn't interested in Jeffrey Dahmer, the monster. I was interested in what made him that way and also who was culpable. And it's very complicated. There are no right or wrong answers. And I think maybe it's the complication that has touched and moved people. It did me. I mean, what do you think, Richard?
Why it's so popular? I always thought it was me.
You probably are right.
Internationally, people want more Richard Jenkins. I totally agree.
The truth is, yeah, right. Yeah, I have no idea. And I was gobsmacked.
Yeah, I think we all were.
You know, I don't know how you could be ready for something like that, you know? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. You know, what's the line from the writer?
William
Goldman?
Nobody knows anything.
Nobody knows anything, and that's kind of the truth.
It's
because
true.
if they did know something,
Right.
these kinds of shows would be every year.
Yeah.
So that's what's kind of the beauty of it, is there's no answer for why it's, and it comes along, you just kind of jump on the train and ride it.
It's like
and,
when a soup is really good.
yeah,
And you're like, how do I remake that? You
Like
can't.
magic in a bottle.
But it's always everybody has ideas after the fact.
Yeah.
But beforehand, it's like you say, you have no idea. Nobody does, and that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah.
That you do because what we do. I mean, I can't paint. I don't sing. I can't. This is how you kind of share what you have to say as an artist through your work, and a lot of times nobody sees it or nobody cares.
Right.
And it's like you take it personally because it hurts.
Right.
You know, you say, no, you don't find this interesting. No, I don't like that. So when something does happen, it's wonderful and it's fantastic, and it's fleeting. It is fleeting.
And Nisi, I gave you the first question, I'll give you the last. Why do you think? What's your vibe about what's happened with this show?
There are so many things that are unpacked here. There's racism, there's homophobia, there's mental illness. It's so many things. And I don't know why this perfect storm of events hit the way it did at the time it did. I'm grateful to know you, and I'm grateful to be a part of your vision. And I'm grateful that I got to know so many and work with so many beautiful actors. And for someone who, the industry was kind, but they said, you have a lane. You do comedy, that's what you do. And you stay over there. So to be able for the world to see that I'm more than one thing was a gift. It was a personal gift. And so for that, I thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
It's very interesting and I think cathartic for me to talk about something I've worked on for so long, to just get to talk about the work and talk about my love and admiration for all of you as artists. And you really did give everything you have for this project, and I'm ever thankful. Thank you.
Well, we're grateful to you.
Ryan, you're a good dude.
You are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a man of your word.
Thank
and
you.
That's rare.
Thank you.
And you do things responsibly, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Till our next talk show appearance. This is like The View. Like, I could do this every day. Why am I working in another, like, this is what I should be doing.
Really good at it.
This is what I should do. This is my calling.
You and me